I'm Sune Vosloo. I studied BA Visual Art, focusing on fine art at the University of Stellenbsoch. I graduated at the end of last year, and my main focus was photography and printmaking. So this body of work is just a bit of my old body of work from my graduate show, and then some new works that I made this year, and it's called Blauberge. So Blauberge is the name of the house that my grandparents stayed in Strand, and it's a very sort of liminal, contentious space because for the past 10 years no one's actually been living in the house. So my grandparents have passed away, and there's been a little bit of a family sort of feud about what to do with the house, so it's just been empty. I do a lot of silk screen printing, and that's just because it's a process that really works for me. I think it goes well with sort of the idea of photography, working with light and light sensitive processes. And then also silk screen, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it because it's actually like a very labor-intensive process, and it has a lot of steps to get to like a simple result. Things that we tell ourselves about spaces and how we remember spaces are sometimes like it's quite a hard job. Like it's a big work that people put into like how we remember or memorialize spaces. So I also looked a lot into memorials. And that sort of for me was a way of like memorializing something. It was like putting all this effort into making a print. And then the same with photography. I use digital and film photography, but the film photography I used like a Mamiya camera, quite an old camera, and so that's once again like quite a process to get one shot. So that was very good for me to spend a lot of time in the space, go back to the space, which is then, because I had to spend a lot of time there, I really realized how my memories have influenced the current experience in the space. So I thought that was quite a nice way. That's why the photography worked. And then for like layering, obviously printmaking is great. So I used my photographs and just started layering prints over them. And I thought that also was a good idea to play with sort of the idea of the fine line between what's being highlighted, like highlighting something, or like hiding it away. Really in this body of work and in my research, I've been trying to consider ways of memorialization and also sort of anti-memorials, because I think at the moment in our country it's really like a very pertinent issue is like what are we commemorating, what are we remembering, and how are we remembering it? And that's sort of what sparked my research and what sparked this project, because this space is sort of like an old Cape Dutch style house. What does that mean in like our South African context? And then also the things were left in there, like they weren't really valuable anymore. They were sort of like old mattresses combined with my grandparents' like copper little ornaments. So that just was for me like a very interesting contrast, and I think that really helped me to investigate like my space also as like a white Afrikaans woman in like the South African context. Yeah, it was just sort of a way for me to like on a personal level like work through some of these issues. For me, it was just interesting to see how like the part of me of being Afrikaans and my grandparents being sort of living completely in that apartheid era, how sort of also those kinds of like very political, almost like propaganda, like little books and pamphlets and things that would like be also in my grandfather's library. So I also made a few works that I never really exhibited, but that I used those sort of like texts and images to really also once again work with like, what does that mean for me? Like finding these objects and like reworking them, like can I rework them, should I rework them, how do I really deal with them? So it was really for me like not always easy, but very interesting process. It's one of the first photographs I took, and I really liked the way it came out. So it's like this photograph of the mantelpiece and the fireplace in my grandparents' sort of living room, but it has these dirty mattresses like covering the fireplace. So what I remember perfectly was the copper or brass object on the mantelpiece. That was exactly the way I remember it from when I was like 6 or 5 years old. And then these new elements of like other people coming in. And that for me is that was just so amazing. I didn't touch the space, I just photographed it exactly the way it was, and it for me really captured sort of a very sad, sort of nostalgic element. Another work I would speak about is the new series that I did for this exhibition, and it's a series of prints on perspex and paper. So what I do is I print the same photograph, also photographs from the Blowbagger house. I print the same photograph on the perspex and on the paper, and then I sort of superimpose them just at a bit of an offset, so that they really have, for me, a very interesting depth. And I made a work like that also for my graduate show, which was like a very big one, and I really liked sort of just the effect that the perspex had. It was for me just nice to work on a new material, and once again they have like a very blurred effect, and also like the closer you come to the work, the more it changes. Whichever angle you see it, it has a different sort of look and feel, and I think that really spoke to just like, once again, going into a space and like experiencing it in like a different way. The Keith Dietrich Award is an award named after one of our old heads of the Stellenbsoch University Visual Art Department, Keith. And it's sort of given every year to the best achieving students in the different study fields. So we have jewelry design, graphic or visual communication design, and fine arts. And then a few students from each field are chosen, and then they receive this award. And part of the award is to have this opportunity to exhibit at the gallery of the university, GUS. So this is the show, and we just got together as a group and decided how our works and our themes might link together, and we chose this term restore.
I'm Pierre from Vermeulen. I studied at Stellenbsoch University. I got my BA in Fine Arts from there. And my medium that I work mostly with is gold leaf imitate and hair. The title of the piece is called Reframe, and it broadly speaks about the cycle of growth and loss, our personal loss and also partly losses. Along with the lighting, I tried to enhance that experience, that you're walking down an aisle almost, and coming to a central point, a point that's almost like an altar. I chose yellow fluorescent tubes, and I actually got the idea from a parking garage at a shopping mall. They had these yellow fluorescent tubes that leads towards the exit, and that was quite interesting to me, that it leads you towards a certain space, but then when I installed it, it creates this sense of like an incubator feeling, like something's growing here. It's when you enter it, you know that it's a space specifically for something. So the sound is a solfeggio frequency, which are old, ancient frequencies that they use to calm the energies that you have. And this one I chose is, I think it's frequency number 4, which deals with fear and guilt. In the Victorian age, you would give a piece of your hair to a loved one, like a lock of hair or a plait, a small plait, to remember that person. Because not everyone could have a miniature portrait painted, or didn't have photographs then. So a hair was a deeply personal, a piece of your body that you're giving to that person. Your hair is very interesting, as it's that thing that identifies your appearance immediately. I mean, it's one of the first things you see of someone, but then hair is also something that we leave behind all the time. And it's something we remodel as we change ourselves. So hair becomes a kind of a trace of ourselves, and it holds a lot of DNA. So it literally is a piece of yourself, your DNA code left behind. And what I'm trying to do here is I've mixed different people's hair to create new shades. So I started collecting orchids because of they are, to me, the most perfect thing in nature, because they're so intricate and beautiful. They almost look alien-like. And an orchid is actually quite a hardy plant, and the leaves are these thick, fleshy, and then comes this perfect flower that's so, with all the details and colours. So to me it was just an absolute, that's where beauty came for me. To me they're the most beautiful flowers. So